Okay, just gotta make sure it's recording. Hey everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I have been working on a little first-time home buyer little pamphlet thing, and I thought, you know what, I have not done a YouTube video on first-time home buyers for a long time. I think the last one I did was probably about 3 years ago. It was when I first started doing videos, and I think I made it super short. So this one, it's still going to be pretty short because I know if you're anything like me, I can only hold my attention for so long, but I want it to just be a little bit more informative, more in depth, so that you know pretty much, I mean, you can come away with this knowing what the process is going to look like, so you know what to expect. So as a first-time home buyer, first of all, I love first-time home buyers because it is so exciting to see people buy their first home and fulfill their dreams, and they're just some of my favorite people to work with. So if you're thinking about buying a house, congratulations. It's so much fun. I remember when we bought our first house and just all the excitement and just super cool. So, but anyway, so I'm just gonna go over kind of the steps of what to expect and how kind of what it looks like. So, and also just go over a question that I get asked a lot. The very first thing I'm gonna go over, because this is so important and it's crucial when you're buying your first home. I get asked, do I need to be pre-qualified in order to look at homes? So my short answer is absolutely yes. And the reason why I say this is because until you speak with a lender, you don't know how much you can even get approved for. So you might be out wasting your time looking at homes that aren't even in the ballpark of what you can afford. You know, there's so many different things that go into, you know, payments that go into a loan. You know, you're looking at private mortgage insurance, you're looking at, you know, your homeowner's insurance, taxes, different things. And so you're going to need a lender to go over all that, go over your income, you know, your debt to income ratios, and show you like, hey, you can afford this much, you know, this is what you can afford monthly payment wise. This is how much, you know, you can afford as far as a home goes. So it's super important. And nowadays it's so easy, honestly, to go talk to a lender, you know, get a good referral. If you have a realtor, they typically have really good referrals for lenders. I've got amazing lenders that I work with, and you can even do everything online. You can go fill out an online application. They're going to want just a few income things from you, you know, like your last couple paychecks, your W-2s, I mean, whatever, depending on what kind of job you have. And that way, at least you know what you're getting into. You know if you're even qualified to purchase a home. So they're going to look at your credit scores. You know, you don't have to have like a 700 or 800 credit score in order to get approved for a home, but they're typically going to want to see you at about 620 for FHA, VA, USDA, which is a rural development loan. Typically about 620. Some lenders will go lower, but keep in mind, typically if they're going to go, it's more of a risk. You know, if you have like a 580, and so your interest rate might be higher, and that's gonna bump up your monthly payment. So, and then also something to keep in mind is, you know, I've been a home seller before, and I've worked with a lot of home sellers, and sorry, honestly, it's such an emotional time. And every single showing that you have, you're super excited. You're like, could this be the one? And so you have all those emotions going on. You know, you might have little kids. You gotta clean up clean the house, make it spotless. So there's so much that goes into it. I mean, you might have dogs. You got to get them out of the house. And so these homeowners are scrambling to you know, show their home to somebody that, you know, may or may not even be qualified to be looking at the home. So think about the seller's time, think about your time, you know, are you, in all of this, like, are you actually looking at homes, like I said, that you can be qualified for, that are in your price range? And so super, super important. And just to get that financial part out of the way. So, okay, just to recap, get pre-qualified. Also, you're going to need a pre-qualification letter. So if you fall in love with a home and you don't have that pre-qualification letter and the market's hot, you're going to need that in order for the seller to accept it, and they might get another offer in, and you might lose out on the home because you weren't prepared with your pre-qual letter. So I'm kind of, you know, being a little bit hard with this. I just know how important it is to do that. So anyway, so talk with a lender. After that, after you're pre-qualified, this is like the fun part. You find an agent, you know, do research, talk with your friends, get referrals, look online, you know, look at videos. With our technology nowadays, you can get to know somebody, you know, through their videos or through their Facebook page or Instagram, which I'm finally doing training on. I have no idea how to use Instagram, so I'm actually doing a training right now to get on. I'm kind of a social media rebel every now and then, and I try to stay off of it, but I need to be getting on Instagram. So, but you know, find somebody that you like, that you trust, that's going to take good care of you. That's a good communicator you feel good about, and you know, sit down with them, have a conversation with them about what you want in a home. You know, what are your wants? What do you need? What can you kind of negotiate on? No, I cannot stand this. And every home that you look at, it's not going to be absolutely perfect, and you can cross off everything on your list, especially if you're looking with another person. So if you have a spouse or somebody else that you're going to be living with, you're both going to have to come to an agreement, which I'm married, and I know that can sometimes be hard to do. So so keep that in mind, but make sure that you're relaying all this to your realtor so that they know exactly what you need. And they'll set you up on a home search. They're gonna communicate with other realtors. Hey, I have a buyer that's looking for this. Maybe they'll find properties that are up and coming, they're not on the market yet. Just make sure that you're communicating everything with your realtor on that. So this is the fun part. You get to go out, look at homes. When you finally come to an agreement on one you're super excited about, that's the time when you put the offer in. You're gonna have to have your pre-qualification letter. One other thing that a lot of first-time homebuyers don't know is that you're going to have earnest money. And what earnest money is basically just showing the seller that you have good earnest. You're going to, fulfill the contract. And if you do default on the contract, then that earnest money goes to the seller. Typically that doesn't happen, and you get the money back, not cash, but they'll apply it to your loan. So, and the earnest money depends on really what you have. Typically, say like you're looking at a home that's $200,000 or $250,000, it's really typical to see like a $500 earnest money. The higher up you go with the price range, the higher the earnest money is going to be. So just keep that in mind. Back to the lending side, your lender's going to go over. There's going to be other costs you need to keep in mind, like down payment, closing costs. I did do another video on that. So I'm not going to go over all that with this, but just also you can look into first-time home buyer grants, and there's different options for down payment and closing costs as well. So, and you can also ask the seller if you need those covered. A lot of times they will cover that. Depends on the situation though. So, okay, so now you're looking at homes, and you got excited about one, you put an offer in, you got your earnest money down. At this point, make sure that your agent is looking at comparables and seeing that this home is priced right. It might be way overpriced. It might be at a really good price, and it's going to go fast, and put a good offer in. If it's overpriced, have the agent show the comparables, like, hey, we're putting an offer in at this price because we found these other comparable homes, and that this is where we're starting. Honestly, it's never, if a home is priced right, it's never really a good idea for anybody to just completely, for everybody in the party, it's never good for anybody. It can get emotional for the sellers, and typically it just can end kind of bad, but to put a low ball offer in. So, say like a home, once again, priced at $200,000, you just want to see what they can kind of come down to. So you put in a $150,000 offer, and that's, $50,000 to a seller is a lot of money. And if the home is priced right, then they're going to know, like, hey, the market's hot, and I'm going to find another buyer that's going to, put in the $200,000 or close to that. So, but research is always good. Make sure that you're, putting in a good offer, that you're educated on that. So once you're under contract, you're done with that part. The next thing you're going to need to look into is getting a home inspection. And this is so important. I would not bypass that. It's not mandatory. This is completely for your protection. It's a buyer paid fee. So get referrals. As an agent, agents, we know a lot of really great home inspectors, and they'll go in. You go in they go into the house on their own, do their home inspection, and then you'll do a walkthrough with them, and they'll let you know, hey, these are the major concerns, these ones are minor. Also keep in mind that the home inspection reports, they are super like nitty gritty, very, very conservative, because that's the home inspector's job. So it may be overwhelming at first when you get that report that's super thick, but honestly, most of the things on there, it's just typical little things. Depending on the home inspector, they might put, the really serious, like safety issue type items, they'll highlight them in red, or they'll give their suggestions. So, and then obviously, when you do that final or that walkthrough with the home inspector, he's going to go over all that with you. And then you're always welcome to ask him questions. So at that point, you talk with your agent, you say, hey, these are the things I'm concerned about. I'd like the seller to repair these items. They'll write up an inspection notice, and at that point it's another negotiation, just like putting an offer in. So the seller may be like, all right, this is fine, like I can handle this, I'm gonna do these, I'm gonna take care of these items for you. Typically, and it depends on how much you ask for, typically they're gonna come back and say, hey, I'm gonna cover ABC, and you can cover, the rest of it. So like I said, it's another negotiation. This is probably the most, well, for a seller, probably on the seller side, the most emotional part. Even though it's a business deal, it's their home, and it can be pretty emotional. So especially when they see a buyer list like 30 items on there, and they have to sift through it, and so sometimes this is the part. It's actually harder to, typically, in my experience, harder to get over the home inspection negotiations than it is the initial offer on the home. But you get through it, you move forward. And after that's done, the next thing that is going to need to happen, this is another big thing on the lending side, is an appraisal. So your lender is going to order the appraisal. It's totally, they pick the appraiser out of a hat. It can't be somebody that it can't be, anyway, it used to be different, but I won't get into that. So an appraiser will come out, appraise the home. The home needs to appraise for purchase price. So if you put an offer in for two, if the purchase, I'm sorry, those are my neighbors. If the purchase price is $200,000, then the home needs to appraise by an appraiser for $200,000. If it does not appraise, if it comes in low, then it's negotiation time once again. The seller might come, they might come down and say, okay, fine. So say it appraises for $195, then they might say, okay, fine, I'll come down to the $195. Depending on the market, depending on their situation, they might say, hey, nope, I don't have that money, I can't. You need to come up with the $5,000. And as a buyer, you would have to actually have the cash. They can't put that into the loan. That's the whole point of the appraisal too. Why it has to appraise for purchase price. So you'd have to have the cash. Typically, you can get past it. And honestly, most of the time a home actually does appraise at purchase price, but sometimes it doesn't, and it's something to be aware of, so that if it does happen, you can just work through it and get through it. So once the appraisal is done, that's always such a great feeling. and most likely it's going to be smooth sailing. So there's going to be little things that are going to come up. You're going to be working with your lender, their underwriter, which is the person that's going through all the loan conditions. They're going to be asking for maybe some documents from you, depending on your income situation. Make sure that you're handing everything in and getting it done, because time is of the essence. So if you want to close there's a certain day you want to be into your home by, the sooner they get documents in from you, just the better it is for everybody. So once all that is done and all the conditions are met, then we get the clear to close. And that is a beautiful day. So once we get the clear to close, we can schedule closing with the title company. And you have closing. The seller typically schedules it the same day. Keys are exchanged either at the closing table. Sometimes they'll leave them there at the house. Closing is not, you don't do it with the seller. Your agent's there, and typically the lender will be there with you. And then just along the way, your agent's going to make sure to keep you in the loop with time frames and what you need to be doing, contract dates. Those are things that you should not be worrying about, that your agent will be taking care of, and letting you know, like just keeping you on the ball with certain things. But we're doing a lot of things behind the scenes that you probably have no idea. A lot of people think, oh, being an agent's it's really easy, if you had an agent, you think that, then they're probably they did a really good job for you. So they're not letting you know all the things that you don't need to know. So okay, so I think that's it. Yeah, and just little things, like I said, your agent will let you know. You're gonna need to look into homeowners insurance, find a good company, you can get a good rate on that. Different thing, title insurance, that's on the seller side. Just different things that you'll be kept in the loop. Make sure before closing that you transfer utilities into your name, so that you move in and you have, if it's like the middle of winter like it is now, you have heat, and you have water and all that. So yeah, it's super exciting. just a super exciting time for any of you guys that are buying a home for the first time. So, and make it fun. I mean, honestly, you know, it's emotional, it can be stressful, it can be fun. You know, me as an agent, I kind of see the bigger picture, and it's so easy to get caught up in like little things and get stressed out and this and that. But honestly, like, you're gonna get through it, and it's gonna be okay. And once you're moved in and settled in, you're gonna forget about some of the chaos, and you're gonna be like, oh, it really wasn't that big of a deal, you know, like little things. But it can seem that way during the whole process. But just laugh and, you know, be happy about it and just enjoy the experience. So it's just an exciting time in your life. So, all right, well, I hope that helps everybody. If you have any questions, comments, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment below. I'll try to get to those. You can email me, Nicole@NicoleBeaton.com. You can check out, if you're relocating here, if you want to check out, you know, the area, you can go to my website, NicoleBeaton.com. I've got some blog posts. I need to be updating that a little bit more, but some blog posts and just different little links you can go to on my website. But yeah, I'm happy to help with any questions you have. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and that, you know, if you're living in the Northwest like we are, that you're staying nice and toasty warm. We actually decided to go on a walk this morning. I'm trying to like have new experiences in life. So my husband and I, I'm like, let's just go outside, let's get bundled up. I thought it'd be all fun, you know. The sun was out this morning, then we walk out, all of a sudden it's overcast. And so anyway, we went for kind of a long walk, and it was fine until about like 10 minutes before we got home, and my face was freezing off. And I looked at my husband, he was talking, and he had like icicles on his mustache. So I'm not trying to scare any of you guys away that are relocating here, but you know, it gets cold. And it wasn't really that cold. It was probably, I think it was like 14 degrees. So, you know, you live in Montana, when I say 14 degrees wasn't that cold. So, all right, I'll talk to y'all later.